What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm the Grog Nick.
I'm Jim John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and a band that we know is playing at MDF next year, and that's the only thing we really knew about this band going into it, other than their name's going to be hard to pronounce. So today we're going over the latest offering from... You want to take a crack at it?
Sure. I'm going to take a crack at it. Weg Einer Freiheit. Nope.
One more time.
Weg Einer Freiheit. I'm probably very wrong. Very wrong.
It's a very, very, very German name.
Yep.
And apparently it translates to the way of a freedom, which is much easier to say.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going over their album Innern. This also comes out on the 12th of September on Season Mess Records. This band formed in 2009 in Germany. This is their sixth album. First time either one of us has ever heard this band or even heard of this band. I only kind of recognized it just because hey, that looks like one of the logos on the MDF poster. And lo and behold, it was.
Yep, that's exactly where I was too, except I didn't even know they were an MDF. And when he told me the name of the band, I said, what? And then he said, that, and then I said, what? And it took me a while to even type it into Spotify. In fact, it took Spotify even a minute to bring it up. So that's how little I know anything about anything in regards to this band.
To be fair, I probably said it wrong twice right in front of him. Probably.
I don't know. I just tried to say it, and I guarantee that's not how you say it.
It was probably something like Dear Earwig Wiener Fahrenheit. Anyway, this is black metal, atmospheric black metal. I don't know. It's kind of... I don't know, it's kind of like an all-over kind of like black metal, because I'll definitely say that each one of these songs were a little bit different, and they are longer, more lavish songs on here for the most part. As far as a style of black metal, I feel atmospheric black metal kind of fits overall, but there's definitely post-black metal vibes on here. You do get some more raw, more aggressive stuff in here. It's kind of, a blend of stuff, and it is atmospheric as fuck. This is so drenched with atmosphere. It is absolutely just saturated with it. The opening track, Martyr, has this really cool, creepy ambient build, and honestly, there's a lot of stuff in here that, definitely reminds me of post-metal in terms of, constructing the song, building it in layers. You have these lush synths that come in, and this, I don't know if it's the guitars or it's a synth setting, but it is just this crispy, gnarly, droning thing.
It might be a bass synth. I'm not 100%. There weren't a lot of guitars to begin with. Obviously, you're going to get your tremolos because it's black metal, and why wouldn't you get tremolos? But I mean, the synths are fairly overpowering, at least in the beginning of this record.
The production here is very layered. Lots of multi-track guitars, tons of ambient synths and just various soundscapes that are kind of in the background, occasionally pushing into the foreground. Vocals that kind of swirl around the song, they definitely move around a lot, which is kind of effective, honestly. It gives this, again, a bigger sound, it's, kind of all-encompassing a giant area, which is, I mean, in my mind, a giant, sad forest, because a lot of this is just dreary, melancholic. It does pick up at certain points and get a little bit more aggressive, like the song Eos, which has a really solid build-up. It's kind of groovy at the start, and then after these pulsating effects and such, it just takes off into blast beats and just rapid-fire machine gun aggression.
Almost closer to death metal, and the riff kind of was thrashy too. And I didn't see that coming, because up to this point, there was nothing in this album that alluded to the fact that it was going to take that kind of turn. I thought that it might at some point, just because, again, up until this point, there's a lot of droning synth, there's a lot of tremolo, there's a lot of just droning overall. And so I wasn't expecting it to get riffy or heavier for that matter, and it did, and I'm thankful that it did.
Yeah, I mean, this album, again, it definitely swims in the atmosphere and such. But it's pretty effective in terms of creating a mood. This feels drab and dreary throughout most of it, and when those mood changes do come in, they are very dynamic, and they can really kind of change the overall vibe of the song. For the most part, I would say this is kind of comparable to bands like Garia, Wolves of the Throne Room, Imperium Decadence, which is also a German atmospheric black metal act, and even Drutk a bit too.
And a little bit of Uada.
Definitely in terms of like the length of the songs are generally very drawn out. The song Zabalba is a little bit over like 10 minutes, and I mean, it just lays on the atmosphere. And again, like how this is produced, which this was produced, mixed, and mastered by their vocalist, guitarist, Nikita Kamprad. I think I said your name wrong, maybe. But production-wise, I think he did a good job in terms of just making this as dense and as layered, especially when it does like a dropout and a build. Like the opening track, Martyr, has some really cool points where they just kind of drop out everything and build from like a synth pulse or like an isolated guitar. And then as it builds up, you just really get like a sense, like the scope of the album, like how big it is.
Well, they do that a lot. Like for the most part, those parts coming out of those dropout, those like nothingness points, all build really well. A lot of that has to do with the drum work. The drummer on this record is pretty goddamn top notch. His blasts are fluid. In fact, he does a lot of ghost note blasts, which are not real prevalent in metal, black metal, any of it down the line. Like you don't get a lot of ghost note blasts. But he has great groove, great accents. In Zabalba alone, he switches from blast to tribal grooves to double time grooves to this really cool, kind of funky, almost ghost noted groove that he's got going on. The drummer is intense throughout, and I really like the mix of the drums too. Instead of those typical like icy cold kind of thin drums you get in black metal, it's got a real big punch to it. That snare has a really killer fat tone. But I think that the drums are what make a lot of this, at least to me, because without it, it's just droning.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot on here that, you know, it just kind of hangs onto a melody and does, again, like kind of like a post-metal, like post-black metal thing where, you know, you just keep building on the melody, like, again, those multi-track guitars. You get a lot of that on Zabalba in particular, like that one's probably like the droningest song in there. But also Fragment, while it starts off slow, a little bit gloomier, really good like mid-tempo sort of like just straightforward song. It's got kind of like a Neurosis-like quality, kind of like in the beginning where it builds up from like these droning, like kind of like dark riffs and like a slower, more like almost kind of like tribal rhythm. And it just has this like catchy kind of like dark melody. And this is the first time I believe like clean vocals are featured very prominently, and they're pretty good. A little nasal at times, but for the most part, I thought they were pretty solid. But the melody of the song really drives it. But at a certain point towards the end, it shifts hard to the more atmospheric black metal again. Like you get these big, shimmering, ascending, you know, tremolo harmonies, which they're beautiful. Like there's a lot of points in here where it kind of just, you know, abandons like a lot of the evil and, you know, sinister moments and just goes for these absolutely soaring melodies that are gorgeous. That moment when it shifts there, like, a lot of it, again, was like kind of like a dark drive sort of song, and then that point is, you know, pretty much you just drove into whiteout conditions on a dimly lit road, like, oh shit, oh no.
Shit, we should probably pull over. Should we pull over? Are we good?
No, bears will maul us.
We live in Ohio, you guys, so that's not a not typical thing. Like, that happens every winter, just like, oh,
well, not
fuck.
Bears mauling us.
No, not that.
Meth heads mauling us because we live in Ohio. But that kind of adds to, like, again, the gloomy vibe on here. There's even a little piano sonnet, Finisterre 3. I have not heard the other two.
I haven't either.
But it is an instrumental of just dark, dreary pianos. It sounds like, you know, Wednesday Addams' piano recital when she was in grade school. Probably not a dry eye or a fucking smile in that crowd. But it oddly sets up the last song really well, Forlorn, which is probably my favorite track of the album just because it almost sounds like a different band. It has like this like delayed guitar start and like, all right, we're probably going to build into tremolos, blast beats,
right?
All things that I expect from black metal.
Yep.
But no, it goes into like clean goth rock melodies.
Big Tribulation vibes. Especially coming out of the last record, that's immediately what I went to. I mean, maybe it's because I adore that record so much, or B, I don't have anything else to compare this to, but, like, I got huge vibes.
I mean, the 80s kid in me, like, I instantly got reminded of The Cure. Even Flock of Seagulls for a moment, albeit a gloomier Flock of Seagulls. But yeah, it sounds like almost a completely different band. Like, you have clean vocals again, these shimmering goth rock hooks that are just catchy as fuck. And then it transitions into black metal, but it does it with that same melody, and it kind of keeps that energy. And that's the point where it really started reminding me of Tribulation. Like, it had like kind of their older sound, or not super older sound, like Down Below, and the one before the last one. It's kind of that mix between like goth rock and black metal, to where you get like the growled vocals come back, you get the more like black metal tremolos on there, but it keeps that goth rock melody throughout and closes out on this like beautiful fucking like synth passage towards the end. It was a fun surprise, and it was really well executed. But I will say that points of this album did kind of drag. Like, probably the biggest culprit on here was Zabalba.
Well, I mean, it's 10 minutes and 7 seconds, and they don't really deviate from that blast beat. Like, they don't really deviate from the droning or the blast beat. There's a couple points in every song where they drop out, but like, it didn't leave that mode at all for 10 minutes, and that was a lot.
Yeah, it's a very like desperate, agonized song, and without like some dynamics to kind of move it a little bit. Like, yeah, we did bring up like the ghost note blast beat, but that's not enough to kind of save it from like kind of the same tremolo melody almost the entire time.
It's a cool part. Again, don't get me wrong, the drum work is awesome, but I keep thinking that for me personally, without that drum work, I don't know where I would have sat, period, with this record.
I mean, it reminded me a lot of like earlier Rules in the Throne Room, which I still kind of struggle to get into, because a lot of it, again, it kind of hangs on those like droning passages, and it kind of gets old. Like the break towards the end where they get into that like fun little groove, and it's well, all right, it's not fun, it's still depressing and dreary,
right? But
it was fun for us, like, oh, they're not blasting anymore,
cool,
sweet, let's do it. But that break was kind of nice because it finally let up from just, again, like a very monotonous kind of part on here. And as much as I really do like the atmosphere in here, like, it really does make this album sound huge. There are points where I feel like the atmosphere is just a bit too much. Fragment, well, I like that song a lot. Like, both halves of that song I think are very strong. There are atmospheric elements that they just feel like they're too much, especially in the beginning. Like, you have these, I don't even know if it's like a synth or a guitar effect.
It's a swell of some sort.
It's just kind of, well, like in the background, but it doesn't feel like it necessarily needs to be there. Like, it's not complementing the melody. It's not like a big part of like the song. It's just kind of there. And I mean, listening to this album, yeah, like they try to fill like every empty space with sound, but there are some moments in here where honestly, like, if you have all these like lush guitars and like just a good solid riff, I think you have enough.
And that was a complaint I had too. You don't hear much by way of riff work here. And I get it as I get into the genre. I get that I'm not going to get that in every black metal band, but for me, I've found now over the last couple of years that black metal needs to have riffs, and outside of EOS, there isn't much by way of riffing per se. There is some isolated moments where you do get some guitar melodies. It's usually in the beginning of the songs, like the beginning of EOS has that. The beginning of Forlorn has that ambient staccato melody that's cool. And like, for me, I thought that there were a bunch of times where I might actually get riffs, and it's just overpowering droning synth, and I'm just like, I mean, that's cool because it sounds good, dude. The production on here is tits. But, like, I don't know. For me, there wasn't a whole lot to go on. So, overall, I'm going to give this record a good solid 3 stars. And I gotta be honest, most of it's for the drum work. The drummer in this band is fucking killer. Like, I want to see that just to see this guy play live. He plays incredibly smooth. His transitions are very fluid. Like, his blasts, his turnovers are clean. And again, he utilizes a lot of cool things that I find neat about drumming, which is ghost notes. I love ghost note grooves. I don't think I will ever tire of hearing ghost note grooves. And this guy does a whole bunch of that. And he does it, and it helps it to break up a lot of these songs. Because for me, while the atmosphere is cool and, like, I mean, it's almost suffocating. Like, there's so much dense atmosphere that I imagine it's going to sound really cool in a live venue. I hope that these guys play the Ram's Head or Nevermore Hall or whatever the hell you want to call it at this point at MDF, because I think that this sound and possibly the light show that goes with this is going to be really entertaining. Outside of that, I mean, the songs are decent. Like, I don't hate them. I'm just not the world's biggest fan of them. So overall, for me, it's 3 stars. Again, if you like older Garia, Uwata, or anything that really Nick mentioned, probably give this a spin for yourself. Check it out.
I'm going to go with a 3.5. I liked it maybe a little bit more. I do think certain parts do drone on, and this album being like absolutely drenched in atmosphere, sometimes that can be a little bit much. Like it feels like it kind of squeezes like the core of the songs where, I just want to hear like the guitar melodies and such. But overall, I think the songs are really well constructed. I love the opener, and Eos is kind of like a nice little surprise in terms of just all of a sudden aggression. And Forlorn being this like cool little goth rock song with like black metal kind of mixed in. I mean, it's absolutely catchier than hell. But again, there's like a little bit of bloat on here. And I also like my black metal a little bit riffier, but I do like what they're doing here. I'd be willing to check out more. Again, if you're a big fan of earlier Garia, much like I said, Imperium Decadens, Drut, Wolves in the Throne Room, and in some of the heavier spots, Keep a Kalessin, maybe like Impaled Nazarene, or at least on Eos, like definitely a little bit of Impaled Nazarene there. But yeah, check it out. Pretty damn good. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. We also have a water heater that turned on down here. It's making a lot of noise in the background, but we can't fucking help that.
Yep, it's 1:30 in the morning and I don't feel like waiting, so here we are.
Either way, memberships are 99 cents, and our Lone Perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we will start doing more regularly, and probably do another one here next month. I don't know, maybe at the end of this month. We'll figure it out. Who knows?
I don't know. We'll get there.
My memberships are the main way to support the channel overall, and there's a join button down there if you'd like to join up and talk about black metal that has riffs versus black metal that doesn't, and why the riffy black metal's a little bit better.
Even if you don't hit the join button, it's cool, because we will still discuss these topics otherwhere. We have non-members only live streams, which I guarantee are just as dumb. You guys really aren't missing much. Like, we appreciate our members, but we are dumb pretty much in the full spectrum of things. We have Nick's Never-Ending Collection updates. We have multiple album reviews, discography rankings, the Thralls of Metal's greatest hits, like tons of shit all the time. We do it for you guys, because we are appreciative of you. Thank you for being a part of this channel. Thank you for being a part of Thralls of Metal. We legit couldn't do this without you. I mean, we could, but it wouldn't be worth it, I don't think. It might be. I don't know. I'm just rambling here again. The water heater's on and it's 1:30 in the morning. Nonetheless, thank you guys for being here.
The water heater thanks you loudly. No, seriously though, you guys absolutely roll tons of content coming in the future. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.